All right, good evening, everybody. What is it? Good evening, everybody. Thanks all for coming out tonight. Before we get started, there are two exits in the back of the room. That one goes outside. That's the way you came in. This goes through my office and go out. That is not an exit. So before we get started tonight, I want to do a special recognition for Councilman Matt McLaughlin, as many of you know. He is a lieutenant colonel in the New York National Guard, and he is being deployed. This will be his last meeting with us this year. So I thought it was appropriate that we take a couple of minutes to recognize Matt for his service, not only to the town of Malta, but to the United States of America. So thank you, Matt. I think I have, and you get the special plaque like everybody, but I think, come on down. I think you're
I'll say a few words while you stand uncomfortably up there for a little bit. But Matt's deploying with the 42nd Infantry Division. Its headquarters is located right here in Troy, New York. And the Infantry Division makes up to 7 to 8 states and, a couple thousand people. And they're going on over there to work for CENTCOM, and I ain't gonna give away secrets, but his area of operations will be the whole Middle East for his unit. So what is in store for you is, whatever President Trump decides the next day could be your, but he's going over there in good hands with Major General Jack James and soon-to-be Brigadier General Pat Clare, New Yorkers, who I've also worked with, and I've also deployed to the Middle East with the 42nd Infantry Division. And Matt's deployed before to the Middle East, so he knows what he's getting into, and it's most important job is come home to his family.
right.
That would be number one, and that will be a successful deployment. He's going to work hard. He's going to work with maybe 2 to 3 days off a year, and for the next coming year. So he's going to earn his pay.
Hopefully he's not going to be gone for a whole year.
His deployment will be for a year.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground, probably about 7 in theater. But it's important work that we're doing over there. And Matt's a big part of it. As a lieutenant colonel, going to hold a lot of responsibility. And in his position, I'm sure he's going to be traveling to all the other GCC countries. There's about 6 of them that are all kind of working together to help betterment of the Middle East, which is Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, UAE. Am I missing one? Qatar. And we'll have a chance to go over there to do military operations and visit people in our counterpoints. It is a unique position that is going on over there to see what he's going to see over there. And he's going to be doing great work. And again, I wish you the best of luck. You're in good hands with the leadership, and your leadership skills are going to go a long way. Take care of the soldiers, and we'll see you soon for your welcome home ceremony.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Matt. Oh, sorry. And I'm pretty sure it was a surprise because he wasn't even looking up. So thanks for not spilling it, you guys.
May I say a few words?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
This is unexpected. My beautiful wife Kara and my beautiful daughter Maeve and her beautiful friend Sadie are here, and did not expect them here. It's an honor to serve our country. It's an honor to be in town of Malta, where there's so many veterans that have come here and live here. I want to recognize, though Al is kind of really blew me up to be doing something great over there. My challenge is, if anybody knows, like Barbara, the family members that are back here at the States have far more stress, I feel, than the service members who go overseas. I know what I'm going to be dealing with. The families back home don't always know what I'm going to be dealing with, and you got that level of anxiety. And they also are coming down on everything in the household. And I just want to recognize my family, my beautiful wife, and all the other family members of our military personnel who are deployed overseas. Thank you.
And Kara, even with him gone, you're still a member of the town family, so if you need anything, you reach out.
At the wash machine, yeah, you can still call him if the wash machine breaks and see what he knows.
Wait till it gets static. So next on our agenda, after that excitement, is a presentation from the Malta Stillwater EMS. As soon as the technology gets itself together. Okay.
There you go. Static white. Push the button.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Skinner. I'm the Executive Director, Malta EMS, Malta Stillwater EMS, and this thing's our year in review for last year, and I have a supervisor that did all the numbers, and so I'm gonna allow him to present it because he's done all the work, so, and he can answer all these questions. So Jovan Cruz, our supervisor, he's gonna do this presentation.
Good afternoon. I was told to keep this short to 10 minutes, so I'll do my best. Up on the screen now, you can see just a quick snapshot of what we did last year for 2024. We received a total of 4,372 calls for service. Of those, we got 3,251 patients, which resulted in about 154 plus thousand miles of transport. In comparison to 2023, it's an increase of about 8%. If we go as far back as 2013, that's an increase of 45%. Too far. Okay. So this just kind of gives us a quick glimpse of how far we've come in the last 10 years. 45% increase in over the last 10 years is an astronomical number that we're looking to continue. Over 2023, an increase of 8%, which is above the national increase of about 3 to 4%. In more detail, majority of our transports are ALS, which are advanced life support, over our basic life support services. Advanced life support being calls that we give additional medications, additional treatments, intubations, things of that nature. Zone 1 versus Zone 2, that's Malta versus Stillwater, so we're about 70% Malta, over 30% Stillwater. The mutual aid request on the right side, those are times that were requested outside of the town of Malta to support our communities surrounding us. Majority of the time, we do not transport those calls. However, we do on some bases. For example, Boston Lake, we transported 16 out of a requested 48. The next community, Clifton Park, Hoosick Valley, which we have seen a significant decrease on. Rensselaer County, we see an increase in requests, but as you see, we do not go out there often. They're having their own struggles, and they can't really supply the mutual part of mutual aid, so we limit that service. Saratoga Fire, Schenectady County, and Wilton. The last number in red, the unable to respond. Out of those 4,300 requests that we received, there was only 31 times in 2024 that we had to request outside help from surrounding communities.
Impressive.
This year, in Q1, we have seen an increase of 18%, which means that if we continue this, which we have been for over the last couple of months, we will be breaking 5,000 calls for service in the year 2025, which is a highly unexpected number. Types of requests that we get: sick person, falls, breathing problems, chest pains, unresponsives, some calls that you've probably seen in the media. We've had a couple of shootings that unfortunately happened inside of our district. Cardiac arrest, suicide attempts, seizures, just about everything you could think of, we respond to. Excuse me. Some notable responses: cardiac arrest, we had 48 in the year 2024. Chest pains, which include heart attacks, heart problems, 214, so on and so forth. Overdoses, 62. And like I said, 6 trauma-related calls in terms of violence, assaults, things of that nature. As I said before, call outcomes were about 43% transport advanced life support, with about 30% being basic life support. Everything else falls into either no patients, refusals of care, transported to LifeNet, the helicopter, ALS intercepts, standbys, law enforcement blood draws. We do just about everything, but majority of our service, our bread and butter, comes from advanced life support transports. With that comes an increase of some of our expenditures, cardiac monitors. The current model that we have is currently on its last run of end of life, and the model that is replacing it, we're seeing a significant increase of cost of about $20,000 to $70,000 each unit. The stretcher and power load, which is what lifts the patient into the truck and secures them into the actual structure of the vehicle, is a safety-related cost. We've seen an increase of about $10,000, and the ambulance itself, we've seen a significant increase of about $50,000, and that's just in the past year. If you go back 10 years, it was probably a quarter of any of these costs. Our latest order in 2026, which is not entirely a new vehicle, we are reusing the box portion, so the actual box that gets mounted onto the frame of a truck. Reusing that, we're still spending about $207,000, when a replacement of the entire thing would be up close to $300,000. These are some of just the other expenses that we've had. Some roof replacement. The roof replacement was about $100,000. We're looking at spending a little over $400,000 in vehicles in the year 2025, and we have $55,000 in deposits for 2026 vehicles as of now. And excuse me, as I said before, our call volume increases, and with that, so does our expenses. This is just something that we wanted to point out. With majority of our patients being elderly or on Medicaid, New York State dictates exactly what we get refunded for any of these calls. Currently in New York State, a basic life support transport will give us $250, and ALS transport will give us $296. In comparison to all of the states around us, we are the lowest, and significantly. Just south of us to Pennsylvania, ALS refunds $667. To the east, Massachusetts gets about $400, Vermont gets $530, so on and so forth. So New York State refunds us the least amount for majority of our patients. When it comes to billing, Malta Stillwater will recoup about 40% of what we actually send out in bills. The rest of it we have to make up elsewhere. How that's made up is unfortunately just the way the system works. Private insurances get billed a little bit more because they're capable of paying. Medicaid, Medicare, we have no say in what they give us. They give us what they give us, and we smile and say thank you. So that's just to kind of give a glimpse as to our income. I think it's the last slide. Oh, sorry, nope. 2024, we were awarded once again Lifeline Gold. That means we met all of these standards set by the American Heart Association when it comes to responding to heart attacks and strokes. We've hit every standard that they have set out for us. Standards such as providing the appropriate care in the 10-minute time frame that we are allowed, getting them to the appropriate facility, contacting the appropriate physicians, and providing the top-tier care that they demand. We are continuing that. 2025, we are still in line for receiving the highest level that they can afford. So that's something that we're proud of, and we continue to strive to meet those highest standards. I think that is it. All right, 10 minutes crushed. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I mean, we certainly recognize that as a community, we are lucky to be, to have the Malta Stillwater EMS as our EMS provider, because you're the gold star. And we really appreciate all that you do for the community.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, if
Sure.
I may. You may have said it and I didn't hear, so I'm
problem.
sorry. Have you identified any factors that have led to the increased number of calls you've had this year?
Increasing age and population, increase in population in general, increase in visitors. Just everything's going up, as you guys are aware. More development, more people, more businesses. The age of the population we have continues to increase, which is expected the longer that people live here. And those patients unfortunately transition most of the time from a private insurance over into Medicaid, Medicare. So once they were paying, close to full price, now they're paying $200, or the government is paying $200.
And a second question I have is, in previous years, we heard that there were difficult wait times at emergency rooms.
Yes.
Is that improved at all, or is that still an issue?
It is slightly improved, but it's still an issue in comparison to 5 years ago, or pre-COVID, I would say. We are still waiting sometimes 2-3 hours at hospitals. I will say that they've come a long way in advancing the wait times and advancing the system, but it's nowhere near what it used to be. And that lands on ER wait times, ER staffing, things that are 100% out of our control. If there's no bed to transition our patient over to, we just have to wait with them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for the work you do.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, you answered one of my questions, because Barbara asked it, the increase 8%, and that across the board, notable, significant injuries, everything. Because I did notice that one of your line items there said a 3% increase in no patients found. I mean, how's that work?
So those are calls such as third-party calls. Let's say you saw somebody fall down off of a bike and you call 911, we get there, they're no longer there. So Good Samaritan calls, sometimes if you have a medical alarm, if an elderly person has a medical alarm and they're sleeping, they roll over on it, that's considered a no patient. We get there, we knock on the door, they say, oh no, sorry, it was an accident. Things of that nature, we consider no patient founds.
Is that significant increase from last year, or is that kind of the norm?
I would say that's a standard increase that we see, in line with everything else.
Anything else? Well, thank you.
Good job.
Button or just pull it out?
Thank you for the job you guys do.
Next, we have Chris Havens from the Malta Sunrise Rotary Club to talk about a project that the Rotary Club is partnering with the Malta League of Arts to do in Malta. And the Malta League of Arts representative is going to just stay in her seat.
She's over there.
Tammy Hadley.
There's Tammy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Havens, and I'm proud to call the Luther Forest area my home. I have the privilege of serving as the current president of the Malta Sunrise Rotary. Tonight, I'm excited to introduce an inspiring community art initiative sponsored by the Rotary. In collaboration with the Malta League of Arts and with generous financial support from Global Foundries Foundation, we are bringing a unique artistic touch to downtown Malta through avenue banners. These banners measure 48 inches long, 24 inches wide, and they will be proudly displayed on utility poles throughout the town center. Each banner will feature a burgundy frame with Town of Malta displayed prominently on the top. But the heart of each banner will be a showcase of local artwork with a 36 by 24 inch space dedicated to images that represent what Malta means to its artists. Whether it's the beauty of our parks, the dedication of our volunteers, the warmth of family, or the vibrant hometown activities that we all cherish. We are inviting community members to submit their artwork, whether it's a photo, a sketch, a watercolor, any kind of creative expression. We even got a sculpture in the other day, for a chance to be featured on these banners. Community members can send a photograph of their work to the Rotary's email address, maltanewyorkrotary@gmail.com, until July 1st. Malta League of Arts has more information posted on their website as well. We will announce the featured artists at a reception on July 24th at the Malta Community Center between 6 and 7:30. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, please feel free to come to that reception. We'd love to have you come and meet the artists and see all the wonderful art that was submitted to the Rotary. The works will then be on display at the center in photographic form for 2 weeks. So everybody else, if you missed that reception, come on by the center and take a look at those works of art. The works will also be displayed at the Round Lake Auditorium during their August tea and tour dates, because we want to make sure it gets all over town. We are working on having a slideshow of the works for other community venues to use while the banners are being produced. The banners are being created by an East Greenbush company, Gettysburg Flags, and will be gifted to the town prior to Malta Community Day on September 13th. Just imagine walking through downtown and seeing these beautiful personal reflections of Malta greeting our residents and visitors alike. I want to thank you for your time, and we're looking forward to seeing your art. I would like to mention that the selection of the artist's work is being done in a blind session. So if some people are like on the board and excellent photographers, say, they might want to submit something and not worry that the Rotary and its judging crew were being unduly influenced, because we won't know who the artist is when we're selecting the actual works of art. Do you have any questions about our program?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for taking this on behalf of Rotary. I think it's a really exciting project. I've long thought that we need more art in our downtown. Art gives a place a sense of community, and I think this is a fantastic start. So thank you.
You're welcome. You have any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will have a salute to the flag and a moment of silence. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's entertain a motion to accept the town clerk's minutes for our 4/21 and our 5/5/2025 meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, comments from town residents. We got a crowd out there, so somebody must want to say something.
Kathleen Mason, 11 Stony Point Road. I want to thank all of you very much for the time that you've spent with our group discussing planned development districts. We really do appreciate it, and for holding the workshop today. I just wanted to make a couple comments about the workshop. On the concept of a cap on density, I know that number of 135% could sound confusing, so I just want to clarify that the first 100% of that is what the normal zoning would allow. So now you're saying 35% more density on top of that. So basically about a third more dense. So for example, if it were zoned for 100 houses, you're saying, okay, 135%, you can build 135 houses. So you're saying you can build about a third more. Just wanted to clarify, because I know that number could sound really confusing. And for what it's worth, we did the math calculations on some of the applications that have come through, and there have been planned development districts that have been up to over 400% that have been, applied for. And that's a lot of density over what the current zoning would allow. So I hope that you'll seriously consider that 135%. For the open space, thank you for acknowledging that we need a slightly better formula for what goes into that rather than this $1,342 per acre. We suggested just a simple mathematical formula based on square footage of the density, some amount of money, $1 per square foot, that just goes into the open space. As somebody, I think it was Councilman Ricky said that, or maybe it was Matt, but the $1,342, that's not a lot of money if you add it up to try to create more open space. The public benefit, I think, really needs a whole lot more discussion. It's clear that there's not really a great idea yet that everybody really feels comfortable with. And I just want to remind people that one of the whole reasons that we might allow a developer to do a planned development district is because we're going to get a good public benefit from it. That's the trade-off for allowing them to build something bigger than what the zoning is. We need to get something really substantial out of that. So I think we need to be really careful. The things that you read from the New York State guidelines, which I'll have to look at because that was new to me. There were things that sounded good in concept, like daycare, but to me it almost sounds like the workforce housing thing. In theory, it sounds great, but how do you monitor that? Who's running this daycare? Who's looking at the people like, is there an income level that they, have to be below or whatever? So we have to be really careful looking at that public benefit piece, that it's practical. There are things that are desirable, but they just might not really be practical. And the last thing is, I think you all knew after talking to us that our basic theory was, if you're allowing more density someplace, then can we create less density someplace else? Can we make sure that we're going to have more conserved land or more green space if we're allowing more density for a planned development district? Again, thank you so much. I think you're really off to a good start on this, and I hope you'll continue these discussions before you really get to your finalized plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you for explaining that 135, because I was having trouble doing it at the time. But I didn't want to, but I think you saw I was struggling. So thank you for getting up there and explaining it.
Peter Brooks, Malta Avenue Extension. I'm part of the group that's been working on planned development districts, as you all know. And like Kathy, I want to thank you for the work you've done and for finally holding a workshop and responding to all the preparations and notes and suggestions that we've offered. I wanted to echo something that Mike Funk said at the end of the workshop, which really echoes what Kathy just said, is that at its core, a planned development district is the construction of more density than the current zoning allows. And we think it's a very simple way to cut through all the noise about what are public benefits, to just think of, okay, if we're having more of this somewhere, we should have less of it somewhere else. So the concept of balancing, of having a planned development district developer pay fees into a town fund that's dedicated strictly to purchasing either fee simple outright or conservation easements on lands that will stay open is a great public benefit I hope you're going to consider. You went over a lot got done tonight. Again, kudos to Al, because at the end, so much had been said, and enough things have been left hanging in the air that at the very end, Al said, he took out the agenda and he said, okay, now let's go down. Do we agree to this? Do we agree to this? That was excellent. Thank you, Al. However, there are still several subjects that I think, as far as you got tonight was, okay, the staff has to work on that and come back with a recommendation, okay? Or we need to talk about this further. That's great. I know this is not supposed to be the format for a question and answer discussion, but I wanted to ask if there's some way you could indicate to us what the next steps in this process are going to be. Is there going to be, because obviously everything isn't resolved, is there going to be another workshop, or is there going to be a proposed draft of a new PDD code that is going to have enough time for public input, or can you enlighten us on how you proceed moving forward?
That's item number 3 on the agenda.
So you're going to discuss that then? As well as, that's going to cover PDDs as well as the other zoning changes? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? I see a lot of Avondale in the house. No? Okay. Well, there'll be another public comment period at the end of the meeting, if you want to comment again later. Comments from town board members and department heads. I just have a couple of things. First of all, kudos to our Parks and Rec director for a fantastic parade. It was really, I think it was the best. It was a great parade. It was dry. Everybody was worried about rain, but she's got some connection somewhere, and it didn't rain a drop at the parade. It was well attended and a lot of fun. So if you missed it this year, don't miss it next year, because it's worth the time. Also, if anybody's wondering what's going on out in front of here, we are in the process of constructing a pedestrian crossing that will cross from Town Hall to across the street. It's actually supposed to be done by May 27th, and they appear to be right on time with their timeline. The weather's helped, so making pedestrian improvements as we speak. That's all I have. Anybody else?
Yes, I have comments. On a happy note, Malta has produced another veteran in our community. The Gottmans just witnessed their son being commissioned as second lieutenant in the Army. It was on Thursday, right? Yeah.
What branch was that?
Army. Field artillery.
Field artillery.
King of battle.
He's now a red leg.
And I would like to talk about Avondale. Today we had our Emergency Management Public Safety Committee, and some residents from the Avondale neighborhood brought up a concern. So to paint you the picture, there's the Avondale neighborhood is an existing neighborhood, and right behind it is a new neighborhood going in called Mountain View Estates, 119 homes. The main access to the Mountain View Estates is off of East Line Road. There is a second access road that connects the Mountain View Estates to Avondale, to the Avondale Road. During the planning board phase, there was 2 end states that were trying to achieve with this access road. First is that the road was not to be used as regular vehicular traffic from Mountain View Estates through the Avondale neighborhood down to Ruley Road South. The second point is that we wanted the access road to make sure emergency vehicles can quickly respond into Avondale or into Mountain View Estates from the Avondale neighborhood and vice versa. To try to meet these end states, the planning board came up with a concept of having a 2-lane road there with gates, a gate on each end of it. The practicability of first responder, police, fire, ambulance responding through that access point with dual gates is going to be a challenge. A police officer would have to get out, open up one gate, drive the car through, open up the second gate, get back in the car and drive through, et cetera. You can see where there'd be some difficulties there. I think a good recommendation, and I don't know what the method would be to achieve this, but I do believe it's absolutely feasible, is to have an access road that's more narrower, but definitely capable of driving the biggest fire engine we have through there. No gates and signs on both sides that says emergency traffic use only. Will residents abuse this? I'm sure, but I believe that it would, through, some patrolling by the law enforcement, that would be mitigated down. With possibly an addition of maybe just a chain, a yellow chain going across that, one chain that should a first responder would have to get out and just simply drop the chain and be able to go through. And I would like to bring this up to the board for your ideas, your thoughts on this.
Do we, as a board, have the ability to change the determination of the planning board or the decisions of the planning boards?
No, we don't have the ability to override or change the planning board determinations. However, we discussed this particular road in the past, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's also town property. So discussing it and figuring it out is, within the town board purview, but we can't change what the conditions of the planning board approval are. There would have to be some form of amendment through the planning board if that were to occur, to get rid of or modify those conditions. So it's been a challenge since the beginning because of the nature of the authority of the planning board versus the town board, and how this whole connectivity issue would be addressed. And the latest of it, prior to the planning board approval, the town board had lengthy discussions about it, and the town board at the time was in support of limiting it, which I think led in part to the planning board's recognition that, hey, there needed to be restrictions on that connectivity and not just allowing it to be a town road. But I'd have to look at, the language specifically from the approval. Sorry, I wasn't
But it
aware
is a
of the
town
matter.
road, so.
Right.
My memory serves me correct that it had been voted on by the planning board and that there would be a gate there. I'm not sure of the exact language, but it's a secured gate. And maybe the word breakaway would be there. And those gates are designed, for rural areas, for a fire truck just to nose up against it and pop and go right through and not have to get out for a knock box or anything. They're designed to do that, is restrict normal access, and unless you want to ram your car and break through the gate. That's what a breakaway gate is defined as, is what's on the books kind of right now.
Okay,
So
yeah, in the discussion today, that did not come up, a breakaway gate, so if
I can't remember. I know there's a gate, so if you have a gate, the only way to have a gate is to secure the gate, otherwise it's just a piece of wood flapping in the air, right? So that's how I'm defining a gate. Gate is designed to be secure. I got to look at it again, it's not in front of me.
the first responders were pretty adamant that it couldn't be locked, so, or shouldn't be locked.
We'll put something up there that they could drive through.
May I just comment, there is between the village of Round Lake and a neighboring development just to the south of there, a newer development, a gate like that. I don't know if you've had a chance to go down and see how that one works or talk to folks in Round Lake about that one, but that seems to be a successful arrangement there. There's no through traffic, but emergency vehicles can get through.
And the way it sounds like there is, God forbid, there seems like to be plenty of water there right now to use if you need to be using it.
So just so the board's aware, planning coordinator Jamie O'Neill just handed me the decision of Resolution 2248, as well as a diagram that's shown on the approved map which I can circulate to the board, but it does have specific requirements for the access. 2 sets of do not enter and emergency services only signs, non-locking swingable gates at each end of the access road, and as presented. And there's an emergency access pipe barrier grate diagram, which I believe is included in the subdivision approval. And I'll circulate this to the board now, and that's all I had.
It says specifically non-locking.
That's what the approval says.
Like I said, they were pretty adamant that locking it would just deter, and there was no real solution where all emergency services could have any access to go through. With any locking method, somebody'd still have to get out. And the other consideration, of course, was snowplows. It is a town road, and we don't really want somebody getting out in a blizzard and
I'm not going to jump to conclusions till I see when it's built and what it looks like. How's that sound?
do they swing both ways? I mean, I think it's something we have to talk about further. I don't think we can make any conclusions tonight.
It ain't built yet. It ain't built yet, so we can't make a determination on something that's not built yet. If that's what the resolution is, that was voted on, well, obviously we have to let that go forward. And then, I don't know, if it's not working or needs to be readjusted, I would imagine, under the eyes of safety and practicality, that we relook at it and vote or to make a change if need be.
A concern is if it's a two-lane road that goes in with gates, and then we determine after the fact that the gates are not good, then we take the gates down, well, now we have a two-lane road there. First, just going
I
with a
mean, it's
narrow
2
road.
lanes right now minus the blacktop, you know, and it's dug. It's,
That's all I have.
so,
Well, I guess take a look at it and see if we can, see if there's another option or, but again, we also got to figure out,
Well, again, you can't
planning board,
change the
right.
planning board's approval. I mean, that could negatively impact the developer and the rights they have. You'd have to find an alternative mechanism, some legislative action that would be required about gates in the town of Malta or in particular. So at this time, I don't have a specific answer for you, but if you want to pursue it further, I think there would need to be some serious consideration as to how we're going to go about that.
all right.
I just think if we just keep to the intent, which is to separate the two, I think that's what the problem was, and liability of the parks and all the stuff in Avondale, the amenities that wasn't getting overrun, and so I feel the concerns. I have them too. That's all I got.
Anything else? All right, our first discussion item for tonight is our very own assessor doing a presentation about full value assessment.
All right, let's pay attention to this one.
Hi, everybody. My name is Raylan Dussault, and I'm the assessor here in the town of Malta. I've been here now, it'll be 23 years in August. This is going to be pretty brief because for the majority of what I'm presenting to you, I've already spoke to you all about back in August. before we had budget meetings so that we knew where we were going. But I've seen some rumblings, Facebook rumblings from people, so that's why I'm addressing this. I'm specifically here because I want the board to support the 2026 townwide revaluation with a resolution. The state of New York does not require it, but they recommend that you do that. And that's pretty much why I'm here tonight. We are going to have a workshop in September that will go into more detail. This is specifically addressing the town board to try to see where you're all at and make sure we're still on the same page as we were in August. So with that, why do we maintain 100% valuation? We maintain it for a number of different reasons, and I think I would say first and foremost, what should be at the top of this is fair and equitable distribution of the tax levy. When you let things slide for a period of time, things get unequal. And even with doing an assessment, a reval every 4 or 5 years, you're still going to get those things that are out of whack. And the only way to fix that is to sit in front of each and every home and straighten them all out. So we also get a AAA bond rating for maintaining our assessments, and a determining factor in the sales tax distribution is assessments. Go to the next one, Jen. Malta has no general town tax. We do have, as you know, special districts. They are comprised of your ambulance, library, fire, and I believe there's, last I calculated, that was like $1.05 for special districts. Saratoga County's tax rate has gone down each year for the last several years. And the school tax levy, the amount of money raised by taxes, determines the tax rate. We have a common misconception that assessments are the only factor in your tax bill, and that's not the truth. The truth is, you have budgets, you have levies, and you have assessments. It's only one component of your tax bill. And not most of us can, we know that budgets aren't going down, everything's going up. Retirement costs, health insurance costs, all that stuff is going up. You still have to fund that budget one way or another. Surrounding towns. Malta, Moreau, and Mechanical are the only municipalities in Saratoga County that maintain 100%. What you should know, though, is there are 158 other towns in the state that maintain. Tompkins County is entirely 100%, and they've been that way since 1999. Clinton County, 99% of their towns are at 100%. Cattaraugus, 13 towns. Dutchess, 13 towns. Essex, 10 towns. Genesee County, 11 towns. So we're not the only one that maintains 100%. We are one of 3 in Saratoga County. And what I hear from most other municipalities is if they had the staffing to do it, they definitely would do it. It costs a lot of money to do a full-blown townwide reval, not quite so much to maintain, to keep going through the process and what we call trending in the interim years. There's a misconception also, or I should say a misunderstanding about what annual reassessment means. And by that, we do a townwide reevaluation every 4 to 5 years. And in the interim years, we trend. And by trend, what I mean by that is we look at specific neighborhoods to see what the sales are in each of those neighborhoods. And then we trend up or down based on those sales to stay at 100%. When I was talking about staffing shortages, there is a shortage of qualified assessors statewide. There are towns around us that have assessors doing multiple towns. You have the town of Greenfield where Lorraine Fiorino there does Greenfield, she does Providence, and she does Hadley. You have Milton, Laura Orminsky, who does Milton and also does Galway. So there's multiple towns around us where there's one assessor doing multiple towns. So that's part of the problem. Staffing shortages, the courses that we all take are only given sporadically from the state. We get most of our classes from Cornell and the fall conferences, but if you're on a track to try to get certified, it can take a long time to do that. Politics is a huge one. Politics is huge. It's not popular and for a lot of people, especially if it's your time to run for office. The misconceptions are there and people don't understand it. Go on to the next one, Jen. As I said before, assessments are only one part of your tax bill. If you understand budgets and levies, that's where I think you need to concentrate and understand, how that works. A school district in the simplest terms is going to have a budget. They're going to subtract whatever revenues they have. That gives you the bottom line, and then they're going to take the assessments in your town and divide it all out, and that's where you come up with your tax rate. Taxes are high because of assessments. Again, it's one component. Yes, if your assessment goes up, typically your rate comes down, but the budget is a big component in that. If your budgets aren't staying the same, your tax rate is going to go up. If you go to the next one. Changes in local budgets, revenue sources, and other than the property tax and the taxable assessed value of your municipality or other municipalities in your county or your school district can all affect tax rates. So if you look at this next slide, we've done one for Shenendehowa and we did one for Ballston Spa. And you can see, if you look at the assessed value and then you look at the equalization rate, Malta is at 100%, Clifton Park's at 37, Half Moon 39.5, and on and on. If you look over at the tax rate per thousand, you'll see a massive difference between Malta and Clifton Park. That's why. Your tax rate is $12.42 per thousand. Clifton Park's is $33.58 per thousand. So your assessment goes up, your rate comes down. It's meant to be fair. Even if we were at 50%, you're still going to come out with that same tax bill. That's what we're trying to explain. It's very hard to understand for most people. And the next one. And if you're in Ballston Spa School District, you can take a look at this one. If you're in Charlton in the Ballston Spa School District, you're paying $25.60 per thousand. Here in Malta, you're $13. It's all relevant. That's where the equalization rate comes in. It is meant to distribute fairness across towns that share the same school district. And that's all I've got. Any questions? Any questions, the board? I know that Al called me and talked to me about this.
I gotta get my yearly educational class, and
I may know, I may not.
and you can tell my retention is not too good. But anyhow, a lot of this is informational purposes. The state recommends 5 years, you said, right?
They actually recommend 4 years. I stretched it out last year with the hopes that sales were going to come down and I wasn't going to have to hit people with double-digit increases again.
And the trend you said is the years that we're not doing the assessments. And just so the town knows, it's like it says, it's expensive, but to get it right, and the average annual cost for an assessment when we're doing the full assessment is about.
In the interim years, we were paying $17,000.
Okay, and a full blown assessment, what's that run?
Well, if you guys had to do a full town-wide reassessment, hundreds of thousands.
Everything's expensive.
It'd be hundreds of thousands if we didn't maintain the 100%. It won't cost us that much because we've trended all this time.
And since we have been doing trend analysis and every so long, we're not getting that big sticker shock, like after 6-7 years, go, whoa, to pay that $2,600, it's.
And this is exactly what would happen if we didn't maintain. Our rates would be going up,
More so.
more so.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate, right? All right, try to think.
Yeah.
Go with me on this one.
All right.
Give me what you would think on the opposing side, what would be the number one reason why to devalue and go less than 100%?
Well, when you are not at 100%, it's still, the system is set up so that you're still paying the same tax bill. You're still going to pay that same, if you're at 50% or you're at 100% and you're in a shared school district, you're paying the same tax bill, but it's not, it's fairness.
So the school bill,
School
is
bill's
the
gonna be the
school
same.
bill is a school bill.
Yes, it is.
And my taxes are going to be, I got to pay a certain percentage, which is going to be less because I'm assessed at 100, correct? Is that?
Your rate per thousand is less.
Yeah, and
correct.
that's, and again, the tax bill is incumbent of property tax, fire, police, and it's not straight, it's not straight math, believe me.
No, it's not.
And so, your best example of why not to keep 100%, didn't sell me, so I'm with 100%.
Thank you, Al. You're the man. I know you've got a question.
I have a question about school taxes. So what's playing devil's advocate here? I'm not fully understanding on the school taxes difference between the towns. So Boston Spa is assessed at what, 65 point or?
Well, what this is showing you is the town of Ballston is, so there's different towns that make up Ballston Spa Central School District. You have the town of Ballston, you have the town of Charlton, you have the town of Malta, and you have the town of Milton. So if you weren't at 100%, you can see the math over here. If you're at 51% and you live in Charlton, you're going to still pay that same $2,600 tax bill.
So my question is, when the school budget comes out, do they say, okay, Malta, you're responsible for $10 million of the school budget, and then that's determined how much I pay as a Malta resident based on that? Or does the school district say every resident has to pay so much? If
It's the budgets and the levies that dictate.
we're all right, what is the assessed value for town of Boston?
I have no idea what
Wait,
this is.
Let's just say a town is assessed at 40%.
Uh-huh.
Who checks to make, because when we're at 100%, we know the state.
The state
checks
is
us.
also checking them.
They're also checking them.
Yes, the state is also checking
And
them.
the state determines the equalization rate.
Yes.
The state says, okay, Boston, you're only.
That's to make it fair across
Okay.
different towns.
Okay,
But it's an imperfect system, and that's where the inequity comes in. If everybody's at 100%, you know that.
right.
But over the time, if you're not trending, you're not catching those changes in neighborhoods, so that
There's a range of
typically older
value.
neighborhoods are favored in or neighborhoods where homes aren't selling, things like that. They pay less than their fair share.
And I think a concern among some Malta residents is maybe another town that's assessed at a lower percentage, maybe their value is actually higher than what their number assessed is.
Well, that could be true because they're not looking at their assessments. So it's not making for an equal playing field, and I think that's, why New York State touts 100%, although it's getting harder and harder for localities, local municipalities to do that. It's staffing.
Does
It's also-
a lower assessment hurt your, if you're in a town and you're not getting reassessed, and your house, you're assessing it at $50,000. Meanwhile, and then when it comes time to sell, you're gonna say, I want 300 for the house, and the person gonna go, is it assessed at 50,000? What say you? Does that ever really happen, or is that just really hypothetical?
Well, it happens all the time, especially in the towns, that aren't maintaining anything.
Yes,
It's also.
that was a setup
The
question.
other reason, first of all, it's been a policy of the town of Malta for the past almost 20 years to maintain 100%.
I actually went back and looked, and there were times in the 80s when we
Yeah.
were maintaining 100%.
The thing, when you maintain it year after year, it's a lot less expensive than letting it fall to 46% and then trying to go back. And why towns that are at 46% don't do it is because you get your assessment and you say it's $100,000, but you're at 46%. Well, then the change, if you go back to try to do a total reval, you're more than double what it was before, and that's not politically very,
No, you're going to get sticker shock real fast.
right.
Well, this is also tied to, our bond rating, and our bond rating is, how we
The
get.
money we borrow.
Yeah, the money that we borrow, and what are you paying for that, So,
And
Craig,
Thank God for the star credit.
thank God.
I
for
went
it.
back in at my taxes today, and I've been vocal
Yeah.
about that.
Yep.
I'm the culprit.
I'm only here to do what you guys tell me to do. That's it.
My question is, if the state has their equalization rate, and we also assess at 100%, we have two groups, actually 3 groups, people doing our assessment every year, true? Trend-wise.
No.
No,
No?
No.
The state?
no, the state is only,
You do not put it at 100%, and they monitor that, right?
I make sure I'm at 100%.
But if they don't agree with you,
Mm-hmm.
they come back and they tell you to update it, right?
Well,
As it happened last year.
yes, we can send our file in, and we could not be at
They don't
100%.
agree,
Right.
they change it, or they tell you.
Go back and redo it. Yes.
Okay, so I went back in my taxes today. I was told my taxes should not change more than
Who told you that?
$50.
Who told you that?
I'm not gonna say.
It wasn't me.
It was not you.
Yes.
My county taxes in,
Your taxes are never going to go down because budgets don't go down.
actually in '25, $1,500. County taxes now. Now, also, the county went down in their taxes,
They did.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so in '24, it was in $1,343 county tax. And it went down in that year also. But it went up. Now, in 2023, my county taxes were $1,178. In I don't have 22s, but in 21, my county taxes were $1,164. In 2020, they were $1,121. I live in an older house. It's been around a long time, and the articles that I've been reading from an excellent source have stated over clearly that older houses are actually penalized.
Well,
Came out of Harvard, and it was a long article. I dreaded reading it. Now, if we have an assessor here, and you basically do residential land, true? Then we have GAR that does commercial land. There's a lot of hidden fees within the budget between GAR's fees and the other professional fees that are extended from GAR
no,
due to the business challenges.
I don't understand what you're saying. Our budget is
Legal.
clear and simple. Our budget is clear and simple, what we pay GAR.
Yeah, GAR's a
Yes.
single line.
One item.
That is, there's a professional fee line item.
And we never spend anywhere near that.
We allocated how much?
We have Global Foundries that we knew we were going to have.
I went back for the last 10 years, and I averaged out a $30,000 legal expense.
Did you take the actual amount spent, or did you take the amount that was budgeted?
I took the actual 10 years back
Okay,
and created an average. It was about $30,000. I don't recall exactly where I got that, but I think
that's a pretty good number for 10 years
fairly-
in
I
commercial
think
properties.
It was fairly accurate. Now, on the business end of things, they don't have a star credit, right?
Who, commercial?
Yeah.
No,
No.
they don't.
So they feel the full impact of this. We're out there touting Malta's the place to do business. I'm telling you, word is out there. Malta has a tough 100% tax. Stay away.
I
Now, we're
can't
touting it
control
with
that.
the chamber and everything. I'm just telling you.
And we, you know,
This is what I've
do you-
been hearing,
do you know that,
calls I've gotten.
do you know that our assessment roll only consists of 7% of our properties are commercial? That's all we have, 7%.
Right. But when I get these calls, they claim their Malta taxes is the highest expense they have.
Of course, they're going to say that.
Then insurance, and then labor.
I believe it.
So we're very hypocritical on attracting big business to Malta. Big business, on the other hand, supports our town in taxes because they're getting nailed. They are.
When you say big business,
Because they
what do you,
don't
what do you,
have star
Craig,
credits.
what do you mean by big businesses not coming here? What do you, because right now we got a growth problem, and now you're telling me we're going ghost town again, you know?
It's very tough to do business because of taxes here. That's what I'm telling you.
Well,
And if you want another
I think
discussion,
We
Here's-
don't
I hear
have very
the
many
context
legal
of-
challenges either. We have 6,600 parcels in our town, and I have 2 Article 7 cases. I think that's a pretty good record.
this year,
Yes. When I came here, I had 8,
and that was 2000.
2012.
I mean, we hear taxes are too high in the context of.
You're always
state of
going to,
New
you're
York.
always going to hear that, and you're especially going to hear it from businesses. They need to make every penny they
Then
can.
my other question is, why are we only 3 towns out of all of our?
I just told you why. It's staffing, it's assessors, there's not
I've
enough of
gone
us.
other
And
towns,
politics.
And I've spent a lot of time sitting down with their assessors and their planners.
Who did you sit down with?
I'm not gonna even tell you, but you'll probably find out.
Okay.
There's only 1 or 2 of you,
They
right?
do not.
I know every one of them, so.
They do not need a commercial hired consultant to do their professionals.
That's because they're not maintaining anything. That's why.
And he says he gets challenged all the time.
Well, there you go.
He looked
He doesn't have anybody helping him, and he
Farmer
gets
down at the
challenged.
end of the street, and he's doing the same work.
That's a perfect example. He's getting all of those challenges. We aren't getting them. That's all I got for you guys, but
Yep.
I just
Thank you, Raylan.
I just wanted
I'm not
to,
arguing with you.
no, I know.
mean,
You're just the most popular person in the room right now.
I
you
certainly
know
am.
as well as I do. I've been in your office an awful lot,
Yes.
trying to get educated. I got to a point where I said, okay, I've been talking to you, I understand that. Now I'm going to other towns.
That's what you should be doing.
That's what I'm doing now.
Good. Good, that's good.
And I'm hearing a very conflicting, I've been trying to get the sales tax formula. You be damned, I have not been able to get that formula for nothing.
Well, we haven't either, so good luck with that.
And that's what all the other supervisors tell me. What's going on? It's not right. That's our tax money, darn it all.
That's for you guys to bring it up with your county.
So I do this.
I've actually gone that high, and I get 0 response.
I do
Zero.
have this on the agenda for potential action tonight, a resolution to support it. I will be supporting maintaining the 100% valuation. I think it's important that we continue on with what, in my opinion, there's no question that it's the right thing to do. So,
Thank you. That's all I got. Anybody else have any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Come back soon.
It's not easy, believe me.
Don't let them see you sweat.
Thanks, Ray. You're welcome. A few more discussion items. The one thing I just wanted to make sure that I update basically the board on the probability that we will see another change order for the Malta Water District. As you know, we are building a small water district company down in Maltaville. And we had a contract with them, and in the process of drilling, they're drilling, it's directional drilling, and they ran into a subsurface condition that is not identified in the contract at all. It's called cobble, it's broken up rock, sort of, and it's reportedly more difficult for them to drill through, and so it takes them more time, they have to use special equipment. So we have been discussing with the contractor and our engineer what a possible fair price for that would be. The contractor wants the price of rock, which is identified in the contract, but our engineer says that it's not really rock, so it shouldn't be paid as rock. And so basically, it's 315 feet of this cobble, and why it's not ready for action is because the contractor and the engineer are still kind of hassling over how much that's worth. So they have one price, our engineer has another price. The other thing that the contractor is well aware of is that this project was done as a district, so we have a map plan and report. We're financially and legally constrained to stay within a certain amount of money. Now, there's a couple other caveats, just to fill you in. One thing is, we moved the DOT didn't approve of the location of the chlorination station, so that actually, the chlorination enclosure, so that actually has been moved, and that'll be a savings for us because it requires less pipe than where it was before. There also is a $50,000 contingency in the contract that, we're going to kind of use that as part of this. But I bet Al has an opinion.
No, it's just like we've all seen the movie Armageddon, right? And they land in the wrong spot and they're drilling through the iron ore, That's where we're at right now. So maybe we can hit the mark. What's the mark? 315 feet?
It's 350.
315 feet's the mark. Let's see how much it's going to cost.
315, you said?
315 feet is what they've determined that the length of this cobble is, or they
And
agreed
it
on.
is cobble, it isn't rock as specified in the
It's-
contract
it's-
as
Right.
being a.
Cobble is not identified in the contract at all. So that's one thing.
But it's
There's
not
no price
solid
for it.
rock.
But it's not solid rock. So
I'd say leave it in the hands of the engineer.
I'm hoping that we actually have the change order prepared for our next meeting, so I wanted to be sure that you at least were aware, and as we get closer to some sort of resolution, I hope, I'll keep you posted. Any questions now about it? Rock, cobble, I'm learning all
That
sorts of
one's
stuff.
expensive. Thought we had sand out there.
Well, it was shale, they thought it was all
Yeah,
shale, which
I
is
know,
easier to
yeah.
drill through apparently.
That's been the problem
Yeah.
down that whole area of shale.
I know more about directional drilling than I ever wanted to. And water, actually, in general. Next thing on is the next steps in the rezoning process. As the public is likely aware, at our last meeting, this board voted to adopt a moratorium on development activities to update our zoning to make changes that are recommended in the comprehensive plan. The town board and the staff, we've worked diligently over the past couple of months to agree on changes in our zoning. We had multiple workshops and agreed to nearly all the changes that we, I think, propose. The proposed legislation has actually been drafted by our consultant. Right now, it's being poured over by our staff for accuracy and any sort of changes that, may need to be changed. Adrian is updating maps to reflect all the changes. I did vote no on this resolution because I didn't think that the overreaching moratorium was really necessary because of how well we had worked and got the work done. But that being said, I certainly respect that my colleagues disagreed, so we are just plugging along. We had a workshop about planned development districts tonight, and we'll be pouring over some of the decisions that we made there. I think we've made good progress on everything. There are still a couple of items. We have no solar regulations in the town of Malta, so we want to have some sort of, solar regulations, and battery storage for solar now is a big thing that needs to be regulated. So we'll have our consultant working on those because they really know more about that stuff than I think any of us do. And then they'll present some proposed legislation. Next steps, I don't know that obviously it'll be a workshop, but I don't know that we're really prepared right now to schedule one. I don't know how far along staff is in reviewing the legislation, and we'll try to work out some of the changes that we talked about in the PDD legislation, and when we're ready to bring that back to the board and, of course, to the public, we'll try to schedule a workshop. What I do want to ask is that each of my colleagues here on the board makes a list of specific items that you think are still unaddressed, and if they're unaddressed, we can try to figure out a path forward about how to address them and the moratorium, hopefully, in a timely fashion.
I'll have my list to you tomorrow.
Huh?
I'll have my list to you tomorrow.
Okay, good. Yeah, so before the next meeting, I'll put this on the agenda as another discussion, and you can have some some talking points. Any other comments? Anybody have anything you want to talk about this process, where we're going?
I'm debating.
Well, we're not waiting long, so.
Nah, I probably keep my mouth shut. It's probably better off.
Well, you'll have an opportunity next time too, Al, to make sure we, dot all the T, cross all the Ts and dot all the Is. We don't want to rush to failure.
No, we don't. I'll give you an example. We're in a moratorium right now, right? How many people out there know that we got 715 apartments looking to be built right behind Pandera Bread? Right? See what I'm saying? Moratorium ain't that bad. Is the application in or not in? It's in.
It's in.
See? So, we ain't gonna be no ghost town. I'm guaranteeing you.
But that doesn't mean we're going to sit on our laurels and not move this forward.
No, we're gonna build smart. Gonna get all that commercial stuff that run away that Craig said.
Gotta keep the town going.
So next on the agenda is an update on our Saratoga Lake Park. As you know, we've had a series of setbacks. We had drainage issues. We still pretty much have solved those, I think, except that we need to do some work on the shore, on the lake shore, and we were doing some work down there, and the DEC came and told us we have to have a permit, so we're kind of stopped dead on that. Basically, the work we need to do is shore up the shore. I don't think that's quite the right word, but we also have a drainage, the stormwater drainage pipe needs to be basically removed or cut back some so that it's not in the water, because it keeps getting plugged up with sediment and things like that, but we need engineering. The DEC permit has to have engineering with it. We didn't have money appropriated for. Later in this meeting, we have budget transfers, and 2 of those are related to work at Mangino's. One of them is the engineering for the DEC permit. The other one is the parking lot needs to be fixed before we can open that up to the public. So we have an estimate from Evolution to basically, do the parking lot. We're cutting it down some. The parking lot's really oversized for the parks. If there were that many parking lots, cars parked there, our park would be jammed up. So, and then they are going to put a binder coat on so that it's safe. It's uneven and just would not be suitable for the park. So I'm going to be requesting that in our budget transfers that we take out $33,000, is that how much it is, of the fund balance to cover those costs. of the parking lot and the,
So they're cutting back the size of the parking
Yes.
lot? They're gonna rough it up and
and put binder
pave
coat on.
over it, right?
Yep.
And
Then we'll have to, stripe it. There'll have to be handicap parking spaces and after that's done, then our maintenance will continue with the fencing. There's still fencing that needs to be done before we can open it. It's been hydro seeded twice now. So,
so on the permit that we have to apply for, this is a permit that every household on the shore,
well,
if they're putting some retention block up there, rocks or whoever,
Yeah, it's-
always has to
it's,
apply.
it's not, we're not putting retention blocks up, but and doing any work on the shore requires
shoreline.
a DEC permit. Do
By
people
anybody.
do a lot of work and not get DEC permits? Why, yes,
Oh,
they do.
yeah,
But
a
as,
lot of them do.
of course,
down
as the municipality, we like to follow the rules, so.
And erosion is a problem there because
Yeah,
Browns is having to
there's nothing, there's no vegetation. I mean, ultimately, we
change
also want to
their
put vegetation,
substantially because of the
yeah.
erosion this time. Updated.
So that will be another item,
Recap. We're gonna redo the parking lot.
redo the parking lot.
We're putting some pipe in there. Is that for the bathrooms?
We're not putting pipe in, it's the drainage, we're repairing the drainage on the site.
Okay, so then the separate item, if we.
No bathrooms yet.
No bathrooms, no public bathrooms.
Well, we're gonna put some porta potties down there for now. That will all be part of the larger plan, where I believe that we will need to get together and as a board decide what these are just improvements that we need to make to basically throw a couple of picnic tables down.
Oh, yeah, like it says, I work about, listen,
Yeah.
you're
The larger-
having a picnic and having a soda pop,
Yeah. Well,
what happens next?
porta potty for now. I think that's,
Going in the lake.
that's part
And
of
then
a
we got,
larger,
where's Peter? I got pollution problems.
can't go in the lake.
I know you can't.
Other towns have done it.
Tell that to the kids.
The future of other improvements at the park, I believe, needs to be an overall discussion with all of us about what we see as the vision of the park.
Can we do a swap at the other property at the other end?
Thought we had a committee for that.
It was just staff. I don't think there were any outside, it was staff. And there was never any committee formed, just
That's
a
why I
group
didn't
of
see
us.
the notes from
Yeah,
it, right?
because we didn't really have we never had a committee, a interest group. So, and now it's been basically Parks and Recs and maintenance and building and planning, going down.
Well,
there trying to figure out what to do.
you're 100% correct, Cynthia. Let's not rush to failure.
Yeah,
There you go.
okay. So that's on that. The last item, I don't think it really needs any discussion. We will be voting next week to allow the court staff to attend the New York State Association of Magistrates Court Clerks Annual Training Conference. I think it's in Aruba. I don't know where it is. It's someplace in New York State. So it's not really Aruba. Oops, I don't have it up here anymore. So anyway, we'll have that next week as an action item. So, so then I do have two resolutions that I want to propose. The first is to support the town, assessor in updating of the 2026 assessment roll.
So move.
Any second? No second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes. You knew I was going to say something here. Maintaining 100% equalization rate in the town of Malta is well-intended policy. That brings with it numerous hidden costs and downside, from increased tax burdens on businesses and homeowners to high admin costs and expenses, and reducing economic competitiveness. The drawbacks of the current system outweigh our benefits. Malta should consider adopting a less aggressive assessment schedule, aligning with practices in the majority of surrounding towns to ensure long-term stability, affordability, and fairness for all taxpayers. I will be voting no.
Any other discussion?
This, this vote is accepting what Raylan's work she's done this year here, correct?
It's accepting that we will be updating the 2026 assessment rule to full, so the full value, the townwide will be next year. It will be the townwide.
It sounds like there's a lot of, I think this should have some more discussion.
The work starts now. We can't pass it off or the project won't be able to be done. Because the work starts now. It's the work for the revaluation starts in 2025. And then, but it affects the 2026 roll. So they'll be starting work tomorrow on this if we approve this. If we wait, it won't be able to be done. So,
Can I clarify one thing?
This is a full reveal?
yeah,
It's already been budgeted for. You guys talked about it in August and all agreed on it.
and it's in our 2025 budget. I think the town attorney wants to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for the board that it was part of the budget and it's been part of our long-term plan, that the town board actually is not the one who makes the determination of how we reassess. That is entirely the assessor's determination. If you vote no to this, she could still proceed. But she would like the assessor's office and the town board to be on the same page with it. And secondly, you ultimately control the purse strings. But since we set it in motion last year, if she proceeds with it now and you're not in support of it, it's going to create havoc for her department going forward, unless I'm mistaken. So this is, right, so what we are doing now is she needs to submit her assessment plan to the state to tell them, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that we're going to continue with our townwide reval policy and procedures. And that's what, so she doesn't want to start doing the work, spending the money, time and effort, and then for the town board to say, we're not going to proceed with that. But just so it's clear, ultimately that decision is the assessor's decision and not the town board's. So she wants the support because the state recommends that she gets that, so there isn't this conflict of switching back and forth midstream, which would likely create not just complexity, but major problems. And so I think that's the reason she's asking for this resolution. It's just to support her determination to continue. And I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I just wanted to let you know that ultimately it is the assessor's decision, and that's why it's one saying we support or not directing her to do one or the other.
Raylan, I support it, and I support the 100% assessment. And thank you for all your hard work.
So if there's no further discussion, I will ask for a roll call vote from the clerk.
Councilwoman Connor?
Yes.
Councilman Ricky?
Yes.
Councilman Warner?
No.
Councilman McLaughlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Young?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Last item on the agenda is the budget transfers. And as I said, two of them are increase of park professional fees. That's for the parking lot and the DEC permit engineering. We have building equipment increase, and that is because, I don't know if any of you have walked on the sidewalk out front of our building here, but there is right where the mid-block crossing is going to be, the sidewalk is deteriorated and needs to be replaced. It's a hazard and it needs replacement. And we talked to the company, Newcastle, that's doing the mid-block crossing, and they're going to be pouring concrete on Thursday. And we think that it would be advantageous for them to also tear up it's 42 feet of sidewalk that needs to be replaced.
I want to just clarify, though, that technically it just needs to be repaired. We're not replacing the entire sidewalk.
Yes, repair.
So,
We're not replacing the entire sidewalk, no.
before you adopt that, I'd like to revise that to say sidewalk repair.
Sidewalk repair. Okay, oh
But-
yeah, you're right, in the notes. As I mentioned earlier during our workshop, we have park mitigation fees, but that park is not identified in our townwide generic environmental impact statement, so we can't use the mitigation money for it. So we'll change that when we update our townwide GEIS. So can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any further comment from town residents? Okay, we got two of you.
Hi, I'm Jason Miller. I'm from Round Lake, Tenderhilla High Road. And as I understand the assessment and how it's all broken out now, I seem to feel like we, at the 100% valuation, we could be potentially, I don't know how well the equalization rate is actually broken out and how fair it actually is. My only concern is if we are being equalized at 100% and everybody else's equalization rate, they might be put at 65%, but if they're more at like 50%, because their values are actually substantially higher than estimated because assessments haven't been done in a timely manner, I just don't see that it's a fair playing field. And what is the town doing to pressure the surrounding towns to bring up their valuation to 100%, so that way we can all be on a fair, equal playing field? Is there any outreach that's been done to possibly work with those towns to help them increase their total assessment to get everybody in the surrounding area or in say the school districts up to that 100% rating?
And
I don't think it'd matter, because the state applies that equalization. And if you go to the far right over there, it claims that the total tax bill is $2,610 for every one of those towns at the end of the day on their school taxes.
your concern was
That's the same kind of question that I got.
I think that
Nothing's changed.
your concern was exactly my concern. If another town says they're doing 50% assessment, are they really at 50%? And all we
State
have
determines
is that the
that.
state is
State's-
monitoring it.
And we're doing it also.
I'm with you.
okay. Just
I would love to see everybody in Sarasota County be at 100%.
my taxes over the last 4 years have gone up $350 a month, which is outrageous, and
A month?
it's putting me to the point where the family home that I purchased is actually starting to become almost pushing me out of.
Have you gone to the Board of Assessment Review?
I have, and what I was told by the Board of Assessors is that my property alone is worth the value of the house, even though the house is needs major rework every single where, and I don't think I was treated fairly in that evaluation.
Are you eligible for star credit,
I do have star credit.
Bennett? Because, I mean, I will be honest with you, if I didn't have the extended star, I'd be out of the state in a heartbeat. No question about it. I love my house. I haven't moved in 34 years. I'm a senior. And if I didn't have that star credit, it wouldn't be worth staying here. I feel for you. I know your position. It's becoming unaffordable, and we always try to find fixes and patchworks and star credits and exempt. I mean, it's crazy. And in the exemption right there, we got our assessors. The state is also reviewing our assessment, plus we have GARD doing our assessment. It's redundant, all to get to 100% at the end of the day.
Thank you, Jason. I would recommend you
it's
call
all-
Raylene
Okay.
and talk to her and tell her your conditions.
Hi, Ann Glacken, 45 Avondale Drive. I've been engaged in a lot of the discussions around the Mountain View Estates behind us. It obviously directly impacts me. I live right next to the road. We've been engaged in these discussions for, I mean, it seems like years now, about 2 years. And we've always been reasonable and fair in, our approach to working with the board. We felt very comfortable that we had come to an agreement that, that road would be emergency access only until such time that, maybe it proved itself that it wasn't going to be okay. Nothing's changed since that was approved. Nothing has changed at all. And so it just seems unfair that the position of the board has changed. And that you're going to be reconsidering it at this point. I mean, I get it if, we get to a point 7 years from now when that neighborhood has been built and, you're in a position where you have to make the change. But right now, there is no good reason to make a change.
So
to
you
the
want the
plans.
gates?
I want the gates, yes.
Okay,
And
the
what we
reason why,
always-
the reason why I brought it up was because there was discussions from some of your neighbors today during the Public Safety Committee meeting.
I would like a reasonable approach that would keep it emergency access and not just have a sign there. There's no way that a sign or just a single lane would keep people from going back and forth on that. I mean, there are already people riding motorbikes across it, day and night. So it's just, it just seems
Okay, I
like.
mean, if the neighborhood wants what's already there, then it's already been approved.
They weren't
There is no need for any more discussion then.
I don't think we're looking for a change.
Okay.
People have, I like to say GFIs, good fairy ideas, but no, this is, I think people are just getting worried and skeptical, but like it says, nothing has actually changed, that the resolution has the gates on it, on the road.
The discussion was about emergency vehicles
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
and trying to find a solution for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my concern is that, that a change happens and somehow I'm not involved in the discussion or aware of a potential.
I'll stay on it.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
make sure you are.
Okay, thank you.
Tom? I feel like teacher calling on students out there. You don't have to raise your hand, you can just stand up.
I always do. My name is Tom McDermott. I live at 19 Avondale Drive. I concur with Ann. The deal has been cut. This proposal for this subdivision would not have gone forward, in our estimation, without this so-called concession. It makes good sense to have it emergency access only. This morning's meeting that related to this public safety matter in front of the Public Safety and Emergency Management Committee, my concern was the functionality of the gates. My concern is that we need to preclude that 3 years from now, we have a public safety matter brought up from the new residents in the Mountain View community, where they come to us and say, Avondale, this is unfair, it's unsafe, we need to take those barriers down. Right now, the concern I have, and I'm only speaking for myself, is that the functionality of these gates is in question. As Councilman McLaughlin had mentioned, the way the routine works right now is a plow operator or a state police officer would have to get out of the cab, down, open the gates, get the vehicle through, go to the next set of gates, open up the gates, get the vehicle through, and then proceed to business. Does this work? I don't know. But I want the board, the town, and the planning committee to ensure that the functionality of these gates takes place. Our position clearly is not to remove the gates, but to ensure their functionality. Councilman McLaughlin, you had an excellent idea in terms of a one-lane road. We always question whether or not it's logical to have a normal street through that bypass with sidewalks and curbs. It's an emergency-only access. It should be maintained as such and treated as such. With full construction of a full street, comparable to other streets in our community, we open up the possibility for conflict later between the Avondale community and our new neighbors in Mountain View. If any change is going to be made, it's my recommendation that it be a one-lane versus the multi-lane road. We don't need more than that. I think it's adequate. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. You can just stand up, Angela.
Hi, I'm Angela Minkler, and I do agree with Tom, a single lane is great, but the gates still need to be there. I don't want that to get lost in the process, and I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, but what I don't understand is somebody having to get out, somebody open them, somebody closing them, somebody open them. There's remote controls, there's all kinds of electronic ways that they can fix that. It's just ridiculous that they're not even looking at it, and I'm sure that it's not gonna be that expensive. If they want it to work, they can figure out a way to make it work. They just are trying to push it off. I just think somebody complaining when they want to plow, they have to do this and do that. If you have a remote, it opens, it closes. I mean, it's still a gate. It's a swing gate, whatever you want to do. There's still ways to make it electronic. Yeah. And maybe sometimes they won't work, but that's just the way everything is nowadays. Anyways, I'm just saying, yeah, the single lane is great. That's a good idea. I don't know how you're going to get them to change because they have such a mess over there right now. I mean, they've got these big water things. It's just a mess. So whether you go from a 2 to a 1, I don't know how they're going to do that now. I think they're having more than their share of problems up there. But the truth is, yeah, single lane is great. That's fine. That eliminates down the road, but the gates still should be there. Because people, no matter what you say, are going to still go through. I'm seeing it now. People driving right up halfway, doing whatever they want. Kids on their, Ann's right, kids on their motorcycle, dirt bikes, what do you want to call them? They're just people walking up there and just being nosy and looking.
I got a question. I heard the word they. Who's they looking to remove the gates? Who's they?
I don't know. It seems pretty obvious.
All right, it sounds like nobody then. Who's they?
Well, I'm thinking right now, Matt was saying, putting a single lane and then we could just put signs at each end.
Well, I think he's just saying that because the topic came up, but I don't think
And I
Matt was.
understand there's a resolution in place, so the gates are there.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to find out where the momentum is coming
Well,
from
because
they.
I'm like maybe Ann said, I'm a little skeptical. I don't trust this.
That's fair.
What can I say? I'm living there and I'm watching this.
I would again ask, has anybody been down to Round Lake and looked at their?
No, I'm going to take a ride down
And
there.
it's,
Somebody just
you
sent me a
have?
picture of that. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, it seems to work there, so I'm hopeful that it will work for your.
But are there 119 houses there? I think I know what Tom's saying. Down the road, are we going to run into an issue that oh, no, this isn't working for us, we need to change this whole process. Well, now if there's a single lane, that's great. Well,
Ideally, the gates will rarely need to be used. That's, if they can't get a
right.
fire engine or an ambulance in on a paved road. I don't anticipate that there would
Snowplows,
be
though.
very, pardon me?
The road will have to be plowed, so that,
Right, but nonetheless, I wouldn't imagine there'll be, that it will be accessed very often. Oh,
I
maybe I'm
hope
wrong.
so.
yeah.
I hope what you're saying works and it stays that way.
Thanks, Angela.
I'm skeptical.
Jim Thoman, Avondale. I think, Al, to answer your question, and it's just a theory. I mean, from the beginning of this process till now, everything has basically been, what's the next loophole so we can get this done? So my theory is the developer will at some point push this somehow, some way, because he's got a lot of money to get the gates removed. And we are trying to do whatever we can. I just had the HOA president tell me that, now this wasn't going obviously through there, but a large dump truck full with debris kind of flying out of the back was going down Miller Road, 50 miles an hour. And, so if that road eventually becomes based on what we think is going to happen, because everything else we were afraid was going to happen has happened. I mean, there is a trail of events. And the only concession has been those gates. But those gates, in my opinion, are going to suck and it's going to go away. So we're trying to make sure that we can come up with a solution now. So that way, when they come to us and say, well, we have this beautiful road and sidewalks, we want to remove the gates. We're like, no. This was the best solution from a lot of people. And again, we're not trying to blame anybody because this person makes one decision, this person makes another decision, but it's all led to a bad outcome because there's been rotating people elected and things like that. It's not that anybody in one person on these boards have had any bad intention, planning or town, but it's just been an accumulation because throughout that time, the developer knew exactly what he wanted. So he knew what buttons to push, and this is what happened. So we're trying to prevent future problems. And, Tom, I wish I could, have half his knowledge on this, but he's done a really good job. And I mean, again, to anybody who doesn't have anything to do with Avondale, I know nobody wants to hear it, and it sounds like paranoia, but we've seen everything happen the way it's been going down. So we're just trying to make sure that we prevent future issues.
I could see, I like to look always 10 years when I'd like to visualize. There's going to be pressure brought to bear from all the occupants of Mountain View because they're going to have to go out to just like they have troubles making a left-hand turn on 67, they're going to have a tough time making a left turn on East Line just to go to a light on Round Lake and East Line and stay there for a while, or go to 67 and East Line where there's no circle, right? And they're just all going to be coming down Miller Road. And it's going to be...
And it's not even the development. I'm also concerned, especially when I was talking to Chris earlier, the traffic going from people who don't live in Mountain View through East.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're all going to get affected.
They're going to go through there. They're going to. I mean, it's not going to cut too much off. Miller at 40 miles an hour is relatively still faster, but still, I mean, if there's some kids that just want to goof off, I mean, they're just going to cut through. So.
Well, I don't have...
Put up a bunch of stop signs.
No, well, listen, there was a major accident right there at Miller Road and Ruley Road with the stop sign with guys on bikes. Yeah. And people got hurt.
Anyway, like I said, I apologize. I think everybody, you might come across as paranoid, but like I said, everything has come to fruition that we thought would happen. So it's not like it's completely out of left field. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
If I could just say one more thing, now that Jim said that. The truth isn't, and now I understand what you're saying, but when these people are moving in, they see what they're buying into. They see there's an emergency gate. They see all of that when they move in.
Right.
They know what's there. This isn't what we all knew was coming. That's the difference. Sometimes it's easy when you don't, but they're gonna know what they're buying into. So there's no surprises there.
Yeah, well, they're going to be looking for the path of least resistance once they get there, I can tell you. And that path of least resistance is through that road. And that's what we need to stop.
To know that that's what it is.
Well, like I said, I'm all for it. Shut it down. I'm with you.
Anybody else? I just want to remind everybody that our meeting is not next week. It will be on June 2nd. Next week is Memorial Day. I hope everyone has a great holiday weekend. And the board is going to be thrilled to hear that we're going to go into an executive session to discuss a personnel issue and attorney-client privilege. And attorney-client privilege, this board will not conduct any further business this evening, so you don't all have to hang around till we're done.
Supervisor, if we could get a motion to move
Oh.
into that, and if I could just clarify that the personnel matter is to enter executive session to discuss employment history and potential promotion of a particular employee.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, night, everybody. So? Matt, second.
Nice job.
Thank you. So it's like, was not meant to share, so there's some typos and some.
Oh, no, I know, but it's okay for me to use the language in our communications and stuff? AI. Well, my daughter did something, she had to write a recommendation letter for somebody, and she goes, well, you read it and tell me, I said, yeah, it sounds great, she goes, I used AI, she said, I just said what I wanted to say.